Look at the modern watch collecting market, and you will find people paying the price of a house for a steel device that does one simple thing: track the time. Mechanical watches have become heavy with wait lists, status anxiety, and staggering price tags. In that same market, the word quartz is often treated as a punchline. To many collectors, a battery-powered watch implies something mass-produced, entirely soulless, and meant to be thrown away the moment it stops ticking. Historically, that reputation is backward. When it arrived, quartz represented a more complex, accurate, and advanced engineering challenge than traditional clockwork. Because of that lingering prejudice against batteries, the collecting world routinely ignores an entire era of horology. There is a massive catalog of highly accessible, brilliantly designed, and wildly accurate timepieces sitting completely out of the spotlight. Which brings us to the Seiko Arc Date, reference 7432-5A00. It is the exact opposite of an exclusive, overhyped luxury object. Produced in 1985, it is incredibly small. The case measures 28 by 29 millimeters, and it sits a mere 6 millimeters thin on the wrist. You don't need a dealer's favor to own one. You can easily find an Arc Date right now for roughly $200. Its documented history is notably thin. There are no famous motorsport legends attached to it, no astronauts wore it to the moon, and it will never headline a major auction house catalog. Between the lack of hype, the low cost, and the tiny stature, the Arc Date serves as physical proof that a price tag does not dictate horological value. Seiko actually started the battery-powered revolution. In 1969, they released the Astron, the world's very first quartz wristwatch. This animation shows the movement inside the Arc Date, the caliber 7432A, and how it achieves its accuracy. A battery supplies a steady electric current to a microscopic tuning fork-shaped piece of quartz crystal. When that current hits, the crystal vibrates at exactly 32,768 times every single second. A tiny integrated circuit counts those vibrations. The moment it hits that exact number, it knows 1 full second has passed, and it sends a pulse to a miniature step motor to move the hands. By 1978, Seiko's twin quartz technology was accurate to roughly 5 seconds a year. The finest, most expensive mechanical watches on the market are lucky to achieve a 5-second error rate in a single day. The quartz movement represents a triumph of engineering that reduced the margins of timing error to a degree mechanical watches cannot reach. Once the problem of accuracy was solved, the technology physically shrunk. Because quartz movements required so little space, watch designers were suddenly free from the thick, bulky constraints of mechanical calibers. In the Japanese domestic market throughout the 1980s, Seiko explored entirely new aesthetics. They introduced highly varied case geometries, faceted indices that caught the light like jewels, and dramatically arched silhouettes. This graphic demonstrates decoding a Seiko reference number, which clearly maps out these exact design choices for the Arc Date. The first 4 digits, 7432, identify the specific movement caliber inside the watch. The second half of the number, 5A00, is the case code, identifying its unique external shape and physical design. With the internal mechanics standardized, the 1980s became Seiko's era of visual experimentation. The focus shifted entirely from engineering movements to creating highly wearable pieces of industrial art. If you want to track one of these pieces down today, you have to hunt carefully. On a watch built entirely around visual appeal, finding a pristine, original dial is the single most important part of the search. You also need to watch for specific physical wear. Many watches from this era used base metal cases, which are highly prone to the exterior plating rubbing away and exposing the brass underneath, particularly along the sharp edges. Maintenance is remarkably simple. You just swap in a fresh battery every couple of years. However, you do have to accept the risk that if a decades-old electronic circuit actually dies, it is often much harder to fix than it is to simply replace. Owning one requires a realistic approach to its physical limits. You are wearing a 40-year-old artifact, which means you must treat it as entirely non-water resistant and keep it dry. The Seiko Arc Date is not a financial investment. It will not appreciate wildly in value over the next decade, and you should never buy one with the intention to flip it for a profit. Taking money out of the equation is actually a relief. Without the pressure of protecting a high-dollar investment, You are free to just genuinely appreciate the object for what it is. Wearing a tiny, forgotten $200 quartz watch operates almost like a quiet rebellion against a modern watch culture obsessed with hype. You buy it simply because it makes you smile when you check the time. The Arc Date proves that great design, real history, and pure wearing pleasure do not require a massive budget.